Ladies and gentlemen, it has arrived. I've been waiting for this for just over a month because what's inside this box is a literal game changer. I first saw this at CES this year, and this is pretty much the dream gaming laptop for me because this is a do-it-all gaming laptop that is ridiculously thin and light. I think this is just over 1.6 kilos, so we're in properly portable territory. And honestly, the last few weeks have been a massive tease for me because Omen actually reached out to sponsor this video with Intel, and they wanted to send out a pre-production version of this, but then we couldn't actually look at gameplay and test the performance of this. So I had to say, no, please, just wait. Just wait until I can actually get the real deal in and actually show you guys just how excited I am about this thing, because what's inside here is genuinely going to blow your mind. And I know there definitely is a bit of a fear for me that I'm going to start to sound like a broken record really, but over the last few years I genuinely cannot believe just how far gaming laptops have come, because we can get something like this in this form factor with as much power as we have inside this, with an OLED gaming monitor display, variable refresh rate, so much stuff, for, in the UK, under £2,000. And I realise at this point that I haven't actually told you the name of this thing. It's called the OMEN Transcend 14. It does come in a couple of colours, so obviously this is the black version. I think this is definitely a lot more understated. It does have a very bright RGB keyboard, but obviously you can disable that if you sort of want to take this out and about and have something that isn't going to identify you as a gamer. Though to be honest, in 2024, that's pretty cool. Or you can go for the white version. And if I'm honest, if you want something that's a bit more out there, I think I do prefer that one. In terms of that all-important I/O, we've got two USB-A's on the right-hand side, and then on the left, we've got a Thunderbolt over USB-C. We've got a headphone combo microphone jack for your analog audio, and then when it comes to charging, you're going to want to use this port on the back. We can do up to 140 watts, so you can charge this super quick. I actually think it's 30 minutes will get you half the capacity. This is a 71 watt-hour battery, so should last you quite a long time. And then you've got your HDMI 2.1 that you can actually do 4K 120 Hz output. So if you've got a fancy new TV or monitor, then you can actually power it all from something that is this slim and light. As for the actual build quality and the way that this feels in the hand, I've got to say I love the 14-inch form factor. I think it's the best for portability. Obviously you can go larger, but then that means you need a larger size bag. It's going to weigh more. I think actually for what most people want from a properly portable machine, this is going to be the way I would recommend going. It's also a really nice metal body, so it's really quite sturdy. There is a little bit of flex to the screen. I'd prefer that was slightly tighter, but I mean, we're being quite nitpicky here as that's not a huge deal. And then you have some speakers and your cooling system obviously within the device itself. We'll get this open in a second and actually have a look what's under the hood, but I do want to see what is inside the rest of the box. I will say that this was like a special edition, so my one comes with this HyperX Cloud 3 headset, but I don't think this is standard, so do make note of that. But something that's quite cool specifically about this headset is that it can actually pair with your laptop over 2.4 gig, but without needing a USB dongle, which is quite nice. So a fair bit easier to set up and you don't have to remember to carry that around with you. But also inside the box, obviously we have our power brick. As I say, rated for 140 watts. This is what you're going to use to fast charge your laptop. And yeah, I mean, that's it. That's the other half of the charger. So not the smallest, but don't forget you can use this as well for all of your USB devices. And obviously the more power a laptop needs, the bigger the charger has to be. I mean, is there another one? I'll grab you a different charger. So this is a 230 watt brick from a different manufacturer. And you can see this is way bigger than this 141 that you get with Omen. So it's all about trade-offs really. If you want to go for like a higher spec gaming Omen laptop, then obviously it is going to be bigger and bulkier, but you can put more physical power into the laptop itself. And I'm going to be testing all of this a little bit later so we can actually see how much power this uses. But you do have to be realistic that obviously the compromise you're going to get with a thinner device is that physics can apply. So you can't have the same sort of cooling systems you'll get in a bigger, thicker laptop. So the compromise is that you'll have a little bit less power going into it. But this is still going to be more than enough for what I would need from my gaming needs. But obviously if you do want to be playing like, well, 4K 120 Hertz like all the time, maximum detail on everything, then yes, you're looking at something a little bit thicker. But the whole point of this is that you can have one machine that can do everything, and fundamentally you can use it as an actual laptop, take it with you, and hopefully have very good battery life to boot too. But let's do our utmost to actually upset Omen, because last time I did one of these, I may have broken the laptop. It was fine, it wasn't completely broken, but I took apart something that shouldn't be taken apart, so I'm going to be more careful here today. And actually, I have to say I'm already pleased, because it looks as if it's just standard crosshead screws to get it undone, which means chances are you probably have the screwdriver you need already. And in terms of upgrades, you're not going to be doing masses to this, because this actually uses some soldered RAM, and that might scare you a little bit. You might think that's not user-friendly, but that actually means that you can have something that's more power efficient, so you have more battery life, but then also you can get faster speeds with lower latency. So I think actually for most people the trade-off is worth it, because how many people actually upgrade the RAM on their laptop? Not that many. But then how many people are going to benefit from better battery life? Most, if not all. Right, I think we got it. I think we got it. Go from this back end. Obviously, always do this nice and carefully. I mean, it's never going to look great. It is always going to look like you are taking apart your laptop. There we go. It's off. I think there are just some like little clip things here as well that kind of hold it all together without needing extra screws. But I've learned now from the previous video that we did, don't take this off, because this is actually where your memory is. It's soldered underneath here, and this is the order to sort of like take off the whole cooling system, which is great if you need to do that, but you don't, so I wouldn't go down that route. But here you can see, as I say, we have our cooling system. This is our battery, yep, confirming 71 watt hours there. This is what our SSD is. Let's open these up and see what we have. Yeah, that does indeed look like that is the full battery there. You've got a little bit of cabling underneath, but certainly doesn't look like any extra room for SSDs. So it's just this one here that you could still upgrade. You just obviously have to clone it if you do want to swap it out for something else, which to be fair is very simple to do, but not everyone wants to do that. There's your teardown then. Don't say I don't ever do anything nice for you, but we've got it back and restored. And now is the time to actually get this turned on and show you this really quite bright and vibrant keyboard. It's not charged up. Classic Centric move. Right, so let's try that again. Yes, there we go. Now do you see the very bright and vibrant keyboard where you've got the solid tops and then this sort of like pudding style translucent effect going on with the bottom. I mean, actually I'll show you under the overhead, that's probably easier. You can get a proper bit of scale now, as well as being blasted by the Windows logo as we actually turn this on. And the reason that we can suddenly get laptops this thin and powerful is all down to the fact that the computer chips themselves have come on so much that the TDP of the components has come right down. And the prime example here are actually the new CPUs from Intel, the Core Ultra range. And this is actually the first time that a Core Ultra CPU has been in a 14-inch gaming laptop. So pretty impressive in terms of specifications, but as we sort of lightly touched on earlier, the issues really that we've had in the past is that when you have like a gaming machine, obviously you need it to be really powerful, which is great for playing games, not really so good for preserving battery life. But by having this new architecture that has these low power efficiency cores inside them, then it means that when you're not really doing anything, these low priority tasks can just kind of sip a little bit of power and you get that lovely battery life that you come to expect. But then when you really do want to ramp things up, you can start to use the efficiency cores. And then when you want to go all out and play those games, the performance cores kick in, giving you that power when you need it, but then that battery efficiency when you don't. You can get the Transcend 14 in a range of different specifications, but this specific unit features an Intel Core Ultra 7 155H processor. This sports 16 cores total, with the arrangement being 6 performance cores, 8 efficiency, and 2 of those low power efficiency cores. The Transcend 14 that we're using here also comes with a PCI Gen 4 SSD, with this one being 1 TB. All of these sport the latest RTX NVIDIA graphics chips, with this one being an RTX 4060 laptop GPU. You can set that up to a 4070, 16 gig of RAM in this, but again, you can go up to 32 if you want. And actually, in terms of speed, how's my memory? I think the fastest speed you can get for the RAM is 7677 megahertz. Let me check my notes. 7467. Oh, I need new memory. I've taken this opportunity then to get this all set up and all of the games installed. I've also had a spot of lunch, nothing interesting. Had to defrost some bread and have a sandwich, I'm afraid. But I also want to take this opportunity to actually show you the display on this thing, because this is the thing that really blows my mind about laptops this year, is the fact that we're getting OLED at this price point. And it's not only 120 Hz, but it also comes with a resolution of 2880 by 1800. So that means it's slightly taller than your normal display, which is great for productivity. But you think you're getting all of this in this tiny little package for for under £2,000. And it's not only the raw image quality, but the motion clarity on OLED is so much better as well, which particularly on a gaming display when you're moving around a lot is going to give you a much better and clearer overall image. But yes, let's waste no more time and actually jump into the bit that I think you care about more than anything else, the games. And yeah, I've tried to hide this camera with a plant. Have I done a good job? Rightio then everybody, here it is, the bit you've been waiting for, the gaming tests. And we've saved the most intense for first, if that makes any sense at all, with some Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart. But this is an NVIDIA supporting title, so it has things like DLSS frame gen and super resolution. At the moment we've got this set to the medium preset. I've turned the textures up a little bit though. The resolution is set to 2880 by 1800 and DLSS is set to performance, because on a screen size like this you really don't need to be maxing out that display resolution without using a dynamic scaler, because you won't really be able to notice a big difference, but you'll be getting a significantly lower frame rate. I have also tweaked this a little bit by enabling the dynamic boost that you can turn on in the Omen Gaming Hub that I'll show you in just a second. That allows essentially to give more power to the graphics card when required, rather than just sort of allocating a fixed amount to the CPU and the GPU. And it works really well here actually, so it's nice that the laptop can kind of intelligently work out what it is that you need on the fly, but do make sure that you turn these settings on in the gaming hub. I am interested though if this can handle a little bit of ray tracing. I mean, it's probably not something most people will turn on all of the time. It depends on the game really, but something like this is obviously quite intense. But if we turn the ray trace reflections on, and has this made a massive difference? Yes, I think it's fair to say that it has. Currently looking at around about 40 frames a second on average or so. 1% lows are still not too bad, and you could enable DLSS 3 frame generation that would boost your frame rate further, but the latency at the moment is kind of at the limit really of where I'd want it to be, around about sort of 60, 70 milliseconds or so. So this is actually perfectly playable, but it's definitely a little bit on the higher side. And personally speaking, I think most people would rather play at that sort of 70 frames a second mark with ray tracing disabled. But it's certainly nice that you have a laptop that's this thin and in this form factor that can handle a bit of RTX. But I do want to take this opportunity to go into that Omen Gaming Hub and show you the setting I was talking about here. You want to make sure that you've got it set to performance mode, go into advanced settings, and then where it says smart performance gain, you want to set this all the way up to 15 watts and make sure it is enabled. Omen Gaming Hub, by the way, it kind of makes me laugh because if I'm honest, when I first used it, it was kind of a bit like, it was just a way of sort of changing the lighting on your like RGB keyboard, which was useful, but I mean, it's not like crazy feature. Whereas now they've put so much stuff actually in this, is really quite phenomenal really. And the way that they've done this is by integrating loads of useful features that you're going to want to use regardless of whether you're a novice user or maybe someone that's a bit more experienced. So you can see your sort of thermals at the moment, really, really low on this. I have to admit, I'm really impressed. I mean, your noise test, like, you can hear it, it's louder than a desktop PC, but it's quite a nice sort of hum to it rather than like a horrible whiny sound. So compared to most gaming laptops you'll use, I think you'd be really impressed with this, even when it's running flat out. So you can see your thermals on this, you can see we're using 95% of our RAM actually, intense game. But then you've also got NVIDIA Broadcast baked into this as well. So if you do want to sort of blur the background of your camera, you don't have to download any separate applications. You can do that straight from the software. I'll turn this round actually so you can actually see this, my lovely big head there. You can see it's got this background blur, but if I turn it off, then boom, you can see everything. And crucially, it does a really good job of actually clearing up all around the edges rather than your sort of baked in tools that, you know, on like Teams or something, that they don't really do a very good job, let's be honest. But yeah, NVIDIA Broadcast is powering this technology. You can also use their sort of voice removal tools if you're sort of talking to people on Discord and things. And they've also got something that they call the optimizer in this that I really like. It's split into two different sections. You've got your booster and your cleaner. And this might not sound that interesting, but booster in particular I think is fantastic because this makes sure the background tasks on your PC, maybe things like Windows Update, aren't running running whilst you're actually trying to play your game. We've all been there where your game's like normally fine and then for some reason it will start stuttering and you don't really understand why. This can be background processes that are, well, running in the background. This aims to zap those away so they don't affect you whilst gaming. But that's enough talk about the Omen Gaming Hub. Let's press on to our next title. This is some Starfield. We've got this currently running at the medium preset, native resolution, but then we do have DLSS set to performance, frame gen disabled. And once again, this is a really nice way to play. We're currently getting around about 52, 55 milliseconds of latency. 55 milliseconds for me is the ceiling before it starts to get noticeable. So if you're looking at like 65 milliseconds, it will start to feel like you're like chugging a little bit, or you're maybe a bit more disconnected, but anything in my eyes anyway, under 55 milliseconds, and it's pretty much imperceivable in a single player game. So this is a beautiful way to play. It really, really is. Don't forget we can go sort of first person mode, pop in and out as well, zoom all the way out. But it really does feel really nice and smooth, and I would highly recommend that if you do play games on this laptop, that you do experiment with those DLSS technologies, but do set them a little bit more aggressive than you usually would, because when you're running on such a high-end display with such a ridiculous resolution, I mean, don't forget 2880 by 1800, that's a lot higher than 1440p on a laptop where it's sort of running a little bit lower power compared to, well, like a proper big gaming laptop, and then of course a desktop graphics card, then obviously you are going to have to make a trade-off. But if that trade-off is literally just setting DLSS to performance and not really being able to notice at all, that's a trade-off I think most people will be willing to make. Out of interest, what happens if we turn DLSS frame generation on? Will that make a dramatic difference? I mean, it definitely has increased our frame rate, but then as expected, our latency has gone up. So some people might not mind this because it's not like it's bad, it's just you are just a little bit less connected to the game, but some people might prefer that extra smoothness because I'd say it definitely does look better. And especially when you are sort of roaming around, this isn't like a game that needs like crazy fast like reflexes or anything like that. Actually, I think a lot of people would be more than happy to play like this and have that extra smoothness, but it's nice that you get the choice, isn't it? Now this next one is for that person watching this video that always comments saying,
"Where is Apex Legends? I thought you were my Apex guy."
Well, I'm being that today. Here we are with some Apex Legends, and this is going to be an interesting one because this does not actually feature any dynamic resolution scaling technologies. So you could inject one if you wanted to do that, but most people will be using this as it is. And we've currently got this set to high across the board, textures are set to very high, and our frame rate is still very, very high. I mean, it's not quite 100 frames a second. I'm sure it would be in some parts of the map, but obviously this is pretty much the most intense bit. But this is still going to be a really smooth and swish way of playing the game. I mean, I would probably investigate using something like NIS or something like that just to boost it slightly higher. Because this is such a high resolution display. But there really isn't any need to do that because anything over around about 80 frames a second or so is going to give you a really nice competitive edge. And especially if you do decide, oh no, oh, I'm so bad at this game now. And I lost my trail of thought now. I mean, there wasn't that much more to say. You're going to get around about 90 to 110 frames a second in Apex Legends, which is great from a portable machine running at 2880 by 1800 on this OLED display that looks oh so good. But as I alluded to at the start, we've saved the lightest for last. This is some Valorant, a game I haven't played in a while and wasn't very good to start with, as you can tell. But this is way easier to run. This is also running natively, but you can see we're absolutely smashing it when it comes to frame rate, with around about 200 frames a second and a latency of, what's that, about 15 milliseconds or so. Again, from such a thin and light gaming laptop, I mean, I'm so impressed with this overall experience. I mean, it's just the fact that it's so flexible because there are loads of people, myself included, that will probably play most of their games at home. So they want something that you can either plug into an external display or, you know, if you use a games console or something like that, use that while you're home. But then you want one like computing machine that can do everything. And this is where that excels. And the fact of the matter is, if you go for like a larger gaming laptop, obviously you are going to get better performance. That is the reality. You can't magic up better performance out of nowhere, right? But then crucially, what this machine can do that pretty much most others can't is be that true portable powerhouse that really is a jack of all trades and can do everything. I mean, yes, you are compromising a bit on the power, but then that's pretty much it, right? And I think for what I would want, this is exactly that. I mean, there are so many different options for like gaming on the go. I mean, you know, you can get like tiny little portable things or things that are massive and gigantic, but just have one super smooth, slick machine that looks as gorgeous as this, that really will just slip in your bag, is a really rare breed. And I've got to say, I love that this exists, and to everything that has gone into this, and to Omen for actually like loaning this one out. It's been a real privilege, and yeah, I think if I was going to be buying a gaming laptop, or I don't even want to say gaming laptop, if I was just buying a laptop tomorrow, then I think this would pretty much be at the top of my list. But the question very much goes out to you guys on this. What do you make of the Omen Transcend 14? Is this the sort of thing you've been looking for, or are you more of a traditional full-size gaming laptop person and you wouldn't mind like having something that was a bit heavier but, you know, potentially has a little bit more performance? Or are you like team desktop and like laptops? What are you on about? We'd absolutely love to hear from you, so please do let us know down in the comment section below. Smash the like button though if you've enjoyed this, and get yourself subscribed. And if you are interested in current pricing on this, different specs, SKUs, things like that, variations, we'll leave as many links as we can down in the description below so you can learn a little bit more about the Transcend 14 for yourself. But thank you so much for watching this video. We really appreciate it, and we'll catch you in the next one.